This video looks at the project management process. So in a previous video we looked at this simple model of a management process. It's a generic model, so it applies to all management, whether it's a business or whether it's a project or whether it's a financial management. It applies to all of them. So you'll recall that we sort of had four components: planning, so figuring out what do we need to achieve, how are we going to achieve it, how are we going to do it, what resources do we need, when do we need them, how are we going to get them, all that sort of business. Do is implementing that project plan, coordinating the resources, and basically doing the job. Check is make sure we're achieving the objectives that we want to achieve, and if we're not, what went wrong. And act is we are fixing any problems that came along, so if we aren't achieving what we want to achieve, we fix it. And not only that, we learn lessons from it, and next time we plan a project or plan an activity, we are better at it. So that is a generic project, generic management process. This model here is an adaptation of that model. So you can see there's the plan, do, check, and I'll talk about the act in a minute. But it's been modified to be specifically related to project management. Remember, projects differ from other types of activity in that there's a definite beginning and a definite end. So these two steps here, initiation and closing, have been added. So you can see that there's the planning. So the initiation is I'll talk about it more in a minute, is when the project gets started, getting the project going. The planning is obviously planning it, like we talked about before. Doing it, executing, they call it. Checking, they call it monitoring and controlling, and then going around in that circle. So you're not just doing it all at once. You're the project is basically a whole lot of cycles of planning, executing, and monitoring, or plan, do, check. Now the act part of it is at the end of a project. We normally sit back and we say what went well, what didn't go well, the lessons learned, and how we're going to improve it. So the next project, how we're going to get better. So the closing part of it includes that act process as well. So let's look at this project management one. Remember, the words are different, but the processes are basically the same as that management model we looked at the beginning. So initiating is establish the requirements, identify the constraints, time, cost, quality, obtain approval to proceed. So this is when the client says yes, go ahead with the job. So there's things that need to happen before that, before you start in the actual work. You need to negotiate with the client about what you're actually doing. So if you're a consultant, you'll work with the client and say, what do you expect us to do? What services you want us to provide? Do you want us to do design? Do you want us to do you want us to manage the project? Do you want us to do contract administration? So you need to arrange all that. You need to get an agreement and a contract, and what normally happens is a consultancy agreement is signed. So now the client has said, yes, I want you to do this work. We've agreed on what that work is, and yes, I will pay you for it. That's quite important. And once you've received that confirmation, once you've got that agreement, you can go on and start doing the work. If you don't, then there's no guarantee you're going to get paid for your work if you're a consultant. Likewise with a construction contract, you go through the tendering process. A part of the tendering process is this initiation. So the tendering process, the tenderers all put in prices. The client selects one, sends them a letter of acceptance, says go for it, and that is their approval to proceed. So the contract document sets out what is supposed to be done. The letter of acceptance says you now have approval to do it. You do that work and I will pay you for it. So once again, in a construction project, that letter of acceptance is really quite important because it tells them that yes, they can do it. They have approval to proceed. The next step is planning, which we looked at in previous videos. Here's a nice little poem. That what, where, when, how, and why and who, they are all good questions to ask yourself in planning. What do we need to do? Where is it happening? When is it happening? How is it happening? How are we going to do this? Why is not so important. Who's going to do it? When are they going to do it? Where are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? What resources do they need to do it? So you're asking all those questions. What do we need to deliver? So you break the project down into smaller parts, and we'll look at work breakdown structures later on. Then each one of those little parts you look at, what do we need to deliver in this activity, this process. When does it need to be delivered? How is it going to be delivered? How are we going to do it? What resources do we need? People and machinery and materials. Who is going to do it? So we're breaking that all down, and we end up with a project plan. Then we execute it. So we coordinate the activities required to produce the deliverables. So we're managing the resources. We're making sure the resources are on site, so the materials are delivered to site at the right time. There's the right plant there to do the job. The labour that's there has the experience and the skills to actually do the work. You're identifying any changes. So you will have an agreed scope of work. If that changes, then it's your job to identify the changes. You also measure. You do that measurement. You say, okay, well, how long is it taking us to do all this? And that measurement goes into the next process, which is controlling and monitoring. You're developing the team, so you may not have the skills available to drive the digger, so it may be that you send someone off on a course to get those skills. If you're in a design project, it may be that the designer doesn't have all the skills required and needs someone to come in and mentor them and to develop those skills. You're also communicating with people, so you're communicating with the work team about what they're supposed to do and how they're going. You may also, if you're doing a construction project, you may be communicating with the neighbours. You know, what's going on, there's going to be a bit of noise, this is when it's going to stop, and all that sort of stuff. And you're also arranging for materials to be delivered to site at the appropriate time, but also services. So you may need specialist plant, say road sealing equipment, so you need to arrange for that to be delivered to site as well. So execution, the do part of the process, can be quite complicated as well. Monitoring and controlling, making sure you're staying on track. So first of all, you're making sure that are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? So if it's a construction project, are we actually building this thing as required by the construction contract document? If it's a design project, are we on track to meeting the client's requirements? He wants us to design a road that will take this many vehicles per day. Are we actually doing that? But you're also looking at time. Are we bringing this on time? Cost, are we bringing it on the budget that we've got? Are there any changes that have happened? Has the client added more work? If so, we need to be paid more and we need more time to do it. So variances, we're identifying those and we are processing them. And we're also looking at that data that we collected on site about how long it's taking us to do work and how much it's costing, and we're saying, is this what we thought it would be? And you're also looking at risks. What can go wrong? What can stop us from achieving our objectives of time and budget and quality? And what can we do to prevent those events happening? So for example, it may be that one risk is that the workmen don't construct the concrete slab properly and you have to rip it out and do it again. So you'll be checking to make sure that the concrete slab has been constructed properly to avoid having to actually rip it out. And lastly, closing. So this is one that's been added for the project management model. You complete it, you make sure that the client, if it's a construction project or even a design project, you're making sure that you have delivered what you said you'd deliver. So you get a formal acceptance of it from the client. So it may be the client saying, yes, this preliminary design is what I wanted, thank you. Or yes, that tender document does what I want it to do. Or it may be the client saying, yes, that building is as per the contract documents, you've delivered me what I want, thank you very much, that's the end of the project. And he pays you for it. But that's not the end of it. You close down the project files, so you will have files recording all the inspections, all the communications and things like that. That's important information, so you don't just throw it in the bin, you store it. Because the next time you throw a project like this, you do a project like this, you want to be able to build on it, do it better. And you're also evaluating your performance. What went wrong, what worked and what didn't work. Learn lessons. So that's that ACT part of things. So the next time you do a similar project, you're going to be able to plan it better. You're going to be able to take the lessons learned from this project and apply them to the next one. So as you can see, the project management process is similar to the management process we looked at in earlier videos, but it's been adapted a bit to allow for the fact that a project has a definite beginning and a definite end.